Good morning, bonjour, um, guten Tag, hello everyone. Happy Friday. It is the 30th of September 2016. It's 8:02 a.m. Chicago time. Thanks for joining. Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss. It is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not indicative of future results. The market received continues to receive some heavy play from the financial sector, with Deutsche Bank dominating the news. Two almost opposing forces this week between the crude oil uh, movement based on the Algiers meeting. Uh, Actually, three dominating forces. You have crude oil with the with the agreement and in Algiers. You have the uh, fashion show or parade or whatever it is by the Fed this week, just one after another, also the ECB. And then we have the financial sector, especially in Germany. I've been seeing news for quite some time now. I remember, I think I saw a tweet a day or two ago from Reuters, I believe, that said that it was laying off 10,000 people, and you keep hearing about hedge funds and banks laying people off. And I saw in the financial sector that there's been a pretty significant drop, despite the fact that the market's holding up pretty well. So that's what's been the name of the game. There are a lot of numbers here this afternoon, or that came in overnight from Europe. I will not go over those. Many from the UK and the Eurozone, and we got a half hour ago from the U.S. personal income, PCE core, and we're still expecting after the open at 9:45 Eastern, 8:45 Central. We're looking for U.S. Chicago PMI, the prelim number. This is a mover. The issue with this number is that it's released to subscribers earlier than 8:45 Central. So from about 8:41 or so, you might see a response, and generally the numbers leaked by subscribers. I get it at about 8:43 or so. But we usually see the reaction before that. At 9 Central, we get University of Michigan confidence. It's a final number, expecting 90.0. And we have Fed Speaker Kaplan at noon Central, 1 Eastern. And then ECB Speaker Costa at 12:30 Central, 1:30 Eastern. And that wraps up the week as far as releases. Okay, so that's what we have coming up. Let's take a look at where we were yesterday. Yesterday, we were opening in the 2160 area. The 2160 area, and the primary idea yesterday, because of the way we closed at neutral extreme on Wednesday, the primary idea is for continuation higher. So the expectation is for a sideways trade, and then eventually, so open sideways, test lower to build a base against that point of control, the old gap zone, and then start to rotate up, and the target is up into 2170. It's very crowded up there. The expectation is I still have it in my plan. I still have it in my plan that this is the natural procession of the auction. I'll show you that on a weekly basis. Again, I'm not married to that idea, but this is what the auction is saying. This is what the price action is saying. Okay. There's clicking on the line. I don't know what that is. Not sure. The secondary hypothesis is for an open push to the push higher up towards the high volume node, and then a balance, and then rotate back down. And the expectation is for a test at 2148.50. That was the secondary hypothesis. Um, the market didn't play either one of those exactly. Mostly affected by news. So as we look at yesterday, we opened a little bit higher than expected. We tested outside of the range up here. We pushed up. We tested outside of the range twice. We put in a weak low, and then we started to rotate down. This looked like Hypo 2 was in control. Hypo 2 would take us down to that to this level initially to the 57, and then push through, fail and push through to 2148.50 is the expected target. But this whole thing was pretty much interrupted by the Deutsche Bank news and the fact that I believe it was 10 funds. I think that was the news that I got. 10 funds were pulling money. Were pulling money out of Deutsche Bank, basically, essentially reducing their liquidity, and so that's a bank that's in trouble. And Commerzbank is right behind it, and that's a major player also in the DAX. So that's where we ended up. We ended up migrating the point of control down slightly. The expectation was for the point of control to actually migrate up today or yesterday, and it didn't do that. There's no way to predict what news is going to come out, but you have to be flexible enough and objective enough to see what effect that has on the overall auction. We ended up with two key distributions yesterday. Again, we are delineated in the 2155 area, and to be honest with you, the expectation this morning is that we would open in the 2155 area. I posted that in the S5 chat room yesterday. That's my expectation. The expectation was for the market to test down overnight and then find its spot and bounce. The overall structure that I was after here is impulse, pullback, continuation, and in the beginning of a corrective move with a higher low, and the expectation is chop and then start moving up overnight. That's what I expected coming into the session, and I see that the overnight actually pushed lower to 2135 and is trading at 2149.75 now, and potentially with a strong potential of starting to drift higher. Let's look at the overnight session. There's your drift higher. The overnight session tested and found buyers down below in the 2135 and below yesterday's low of 2137 and a quarter, and is starting to drift up. So the plan, the rotation up is still intact. The test down was not expected, however. Just a quick, this is really important, I think, because my views, sorry, my views are not for just today. I'm keeping an eye on the bigger picture as much as possible in my trading, and so it's really important for me to see what was accomplished by the bigger players and what is the next major rotation. And so since last Friday or Thursday, I've been talking about the fact that we pushed up. So this is this week. This here, let me change the color so you can actually see it. Let's go with a dark blue here. This is this week, okay? This is what we've done this week. This is a composite profile of everything from the 8th of August. And the two distributions I've been talking about is this heavy profile, and I've outlined this pretty much every Trader Bite I've done this week. 2174.50 is a key figure up there. 2172.75 in volume. We've tested this price last week, and what we did the week before that is we tested down below. So we came from up here, we blew through 2 Fridays ago, then we came back on Monday and had a 45.5 point rally, and then we chopped around, and then we broke through this low volume node again and started to push up into it last week, and we have drifted down towards the end of the week. And now this week we've moved to the middle, and look at what it's doing. It's basically filling in this low volume node. It is essentially still building a base higher than the area that was below it. And this is what's important to note. The market has tested below and found its buyers on that Monday, I think it was September 12th, and has been holding these prices up here despite the bad news, right? So this is strength, okay? This is not showing weakness. It's struggling with the news flow that's coming out, but overall, look at where we are this week. We are right in the low volume node and filling in. This is how the market generally builds a base and a proper auction, and generally we get a fat profile. We move away from it, pull back to it, and then start moving in that direction. If we move below it, we'll pull back to it and start moving in the opposite direction. And then the target below would be the high volume node down in here, right, which we got close to yesterday, but we still maintained this whole week. We maintained strength above the lower volume node. This is just important for you to note as you're looking at the bigger picture. Just so we can catch up with what's going on in Europe, here's the DAX. The DAX is actually not in that terrible a shape. Deutsche Bank is a big component, or was, before this crash. The DAX is not in that bad a shape. It has fallen off, but overall, it really hasn't lost all that much ground, and has not had to push through. The point of control, the key point of control below is at 97.34. Even the DAX is trading at 10,363. It's taking it on the chin a little bit, but it's not really a crash type of thing. This isn't a crash. You would expect a lot more pain from this product. I mean, it's higher than where it was in July, and it's higher than where it was during the Brexit thing. The other big product to keep an eye on, if you can find it online, is the Bund, of course. The Bund is the 10-year note from Germany. It is the source of liquidity for that, a big representative liquidity from that, for that economy. The Brexit vote brought us up to 166.12, and we just took that out in the Bund, 166.36. We took it out a few days ago as well, 166.27. The Bund is making all-time highs, pushing yields even more into negative territory. This is fear coming into the market, money moving out of equities and into treasuries, and we're seeing some of that also in the 10-year note here in the U.S. But overall, this isn't panic. It is moving methodically. There's a trend here. There's a methodical move. There's methodical movement towards safety there, but it certainly isn't panic mode. Here's what I expect for today now that we've gone through that, and I'm unsuccessful at cutting these videos down to 10 minutes. I'm going to extend this profile forward to see how we're developing below. Look at how the volume is kicking in here. The volume is very boxy. This is basically telling us that there's really hardly any, the market's having a hard time finding consensus. When you have a boxy profile, let's change the color. When you have a boxy profile, essentially the market is not switching off and on gradually like it normally does. The point of control is it's 47.25. We're trading 21.50, 51.50 right now, and essentially over the last week, the market has thoroughly examined again these lower prices. Has thoroughly examined these lower prices, and it's fairly stable. And if I zoom out a little bit here and bring more bars in, and you could see the composite below, you could see that we tested that point of control of everything that we've done since the beginning of September to the tick a couple of days ago. I think it was on Tuesday. We tested it to the tick and had a pretty decent bounce there. So we're finding the buyers right here. This is the test right here. We're finding the buyers, but the bad news keeps slumping this, and it's struggling. Overall for today, the expectation is for this to be stuck in range. The expectation today is to open in auction, in range, open auction in range. The expectation is for it to test down to the 21.46. The expectation is for it to find a base, push the overnight high, and start moving again in the direction of the original trend. I don't expect too much range, but I also expect that investors, higher time frame participants, bigger traders, to come into the weekend somewhat protected. We may see a reversal on the close, but the general expectation is that we move back towards responsive towards the point of control, and then we build a base and start moving up. That's the key expected trade, and I'm going to be looking for that early on. I want to see that it's starting to test down, and as soon as it starts rotating up, I'm going to look for the first pullback, first or second pullback, whatever sets up, look to get long and push towards the 2159.50 area from yesterday to resume the auction that was taking place up here. We still have that strong close on a neutral extreme, and we have not extended that out yet. We extended it yesterday by 2 ticks, and we have a weak high from yesterday, and that's the extended target. That would be yesterday's high is the extended target at 2165.75 or so. So that's hypo 1. Hypo 2 is to test higher to continue the overnight session and then find its sellers. There's probably news flow, and we have 2 numbers coming out. And then the expectation for that is to get down into 2146, bounce, push through, and then essentially get stuck here. For the session. I'm expecting the overall market to remain in range of yesterday. Yesterday's range was fairly wide. I expect today to do its thing early and then go into weekend trading. I'll leave you with that, with those ideas, and hopefully you're managing to understand how those hypos blend in with the overall plan and execution. If you don't, check out webinar 5 on the website or ask on Twitter. Good luck. Take care.